So I feel like I always have the story for the cold open, but do you have anything you want to lead off with today?
Well, I think the reason why you always do the cold open is because I'd probably start off with how my allergies are bad and how you
nobody
and
wants
I.
to hear that.
Yeah, no.
Nobody probably wants to hear what I have to say, but I'm going to say it anyway
What?
because I have a microphone and they don't.
What?
My sister and her daughter are in town,
Okay.
so I've had the joy of babysitting a few days this week.
Okay.
And my niece is obsessed with a movie that is on Netflix, and she wants to watch it all the time. And I watched this movie before she came into town.
Yeah.
I was curious about it because it got nominated for an Oscar. I was
Yeah.
like, how did this get nominated? Any guesses what this movie is?
No.
The Boss Baby.
Are you serious?
The Boss Baby. Yeah. You go on Netflix to try to find something to put on in the background. She's like, baby.
Oh God.
So, and the Boss Baby has taught her goo goo gaga
No.
because when the kid walks in on the Boss Baby for the first time, trying to pretend that he's actually a baby, he just goes goo goo gaga. And so my niece would just go goo goo gaga.
No.
And I'm like, oh man, damn you, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say this. It's not horrible. It's actually a lot better than I expected it to be.
Okay,
for a
so
movie
instead of
called The Boss
horrible, it's
Baby.
tolerable.
It's not even tolerable. Like, there are some jokes that I'm like, that's actually pretty clever. Like, at one point, they have to go to Las Vegas to stop the bad guy. So they get to the kids get to the airport, and they're like, we need to get to the convention center. And there's like a bachelorette party there. And so they like play like, we need to get home to my brother's sick. We need to get home to
Yeah.
our parents. Where do you live? The convention center. And then they drop them off, and the kid's drinking out of this big long bottle.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, these people of Long Island do not know how to make iced tea. He just throws it away. I was like, that's the funniest underage drinking joke I've ever seen.
How many underage drinking jokes have you seen?
I mean, compared to stuff
It's
like,
funny. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not gonna
Compared
lie.
to like,
It's definitely a good
like
setup.
I think that's more clever than anything in like American Pie.
American Pie is dated as hell
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, for a kids movie though, like it was
American Pie is definitely not a kids movie.
Yeah, for a kids movie though, it was the most adult joke that I didn't expect. Like
Yeah.
kids aren't going to get that,
No.
but that's one of the better ones for adults.
Yeah.
That and the put the cookie down. Cookies are for closers. Like that whole scene doesn't make any sense to anyone but adults. Like that whole joke,
Yeah.
and even some adults don't get it.
Hmm.
But we're not here to talk about the Boss Baby.
No, we're not.
That'll be
Thank God.
that'll be one of our Oscar preview shows.
Yeah, no, it won't. It's not going to make it in unless it wins.
If it okay, so Boss Baby wins.
I'll
we're
watch
watching
it.
for the podcast. But we're not here to talk
If it
about
wins
that.
its nomination, I'll watch it.
Okay. It's not going to.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
It's going
saying.
to be Coco. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
And I'm Ryan.
And today we're going to talk about a cult classic, which I didn't realize was a cult classic. I just thought it was a classic.
Then you must be in the cult,
Yeah, I guess. We're going to talk about 1985's Clue.
which is very interesting.
Yes.
I have to admit.
It's got an all-star cast
Yeah.
of people from the 80s. You got Christopher Lloyd, Martin Mull,
Mm-hmm.
Michael McKean, Tim Curry.
See, I only, except for some of their names, I only know them from other movies they've been in.
Eileen Brannon, Madeline Kahn, and Leslie Ann Warren.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to mess up their names. That's why I had
Yeah,
this
that's
here.
because I know you've got like so some of these I've placed automatically from other films, and the two was the Doctor, Professor Plum.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get who he was until he started freaking out after Mr. Body died, and I was just waiting for him to shout "Great Scott" because he was just, yeah, I know, yeah. So I would like. I didn't pick up that was him until that scene when he started freaking out after the lights turned back on.
Yeah.
And then, but I picked, was it Mrs. White out as soon as the door opened?
Yeah.
Because she's in a lot of, she's in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. Young
She's in
Frankenstein.
High Anxiety. She's in a lot of Mel Brooks stuff.
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw her, I knew her like is off the bat. The unfortunate thing was whenever she talked, I couldn't get her character from Blazing Saddles out of my head. I was waiting for her to slip in a very bad German accent whenever she was talking.
You know, we've talked about this before on the show, I've never seen Blazing Saddles.
That'll be the next one.
Yeah, I had a feeling we were going to get a movie out of this for the next one.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would be Blazing Saddles.
Well, guess what? We did.
'Cause yeah.
I have it, so I can get it to you today,
All
actually.
right, cool. What I thought we were going to talk about is Michael McKean and get into This Is Spinal Tap, because I've never seen that either.
Okay, that'll be okay. So
That'll be on the list
that'll be on the
road.
list. That'll probably be with either then the third one from now or the fifth
Yeah.
one from now.
So what do you think? You had never seen this before.
Yeah, no.
I'd seen it years ago on like ABC Family or whatever it was back in like 2002.
You know how I talked about for Power Rangers, how I said that either you need to do it dead serious or goofy, and we
Yeah.
had that discussion
Yeah.
about this is a perfect example of that. You're
Just
making
goofy?
just goofy because you're making a movie based off a board game.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is either to do what they did with this, which was funny, or do like an actual like inner monologue crime investigation
Like
like
film noir.
40s, yeah, exactly, type like movie
Yeah.
or like an actual like cop drama to
Mhm.
a point, trying to figure out what happened in this mansion.
Yeah.
They did the goofy route like 100%,
Mm-hmm.
and it was perfect because I mean it's a board game, for crying out loud. I
Yeah.
wasn't entirely sure what the hell they were doing in like the first 5 minutes, but then after, when they were doing the gag with the dog poop,
Yeah.
where everybody that walked by the butler
It was like,
was like, as soon as they started doing that, I was like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this, and I like it.
yeah,
I like it.
For being based off of a board game, this movie is way better than it has any right to be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
Especially based off the board game it's
like,
based off
I remember
of.
a few years ago where one of the studios bought a bunch of the Hasbro Parker Brothers properties for
Mhm.
the film rights, and that's
Yeah.
when we got Battleship. And everyone's like, "Oh man, who wants to see a Monopoly movie?" And I'm like, "Well, they did Clue in the '80s, and that was good.
Yeah.
I don't know if Lightning Can Strike Twice." And then Battleship came out, and it didn't.
Well, there is a game out about Monopoly already.
A movie?
Yeah,
What's the movie?
it's called Wall Street.
I don't get it.
Have you
No, I
seen
get- I
Wall
get it,
Street?
I get it. I haven't. but-
Okay, yeah, that's another one. See, this is why we have a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's happened with all this. I know they're remaking Clue with Ryan Reynolds.
Ooh,
So
I would like that. I
yeah,
like Ryan
think,
Reynolds.
I think with him producing it and being like a strong force behind it, like he was for Deadpool, I don't see how you can go wrong. Because you can take like this kind of format,
yeah,
revamp it, and maybe go hard R.
yeah, you
And
definitely
I think
could.
that would be very interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. I have to admit, though, I mean, with being a movie this old, I mean, trying to do like generic stuff first without getting into spoilers is
Yeah.
hard to do.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I don't think we really need to worry about spoilers.
if
but
you haven't seen this movie at this
who-
point, like, just go
you-
see it.
You've got a phenomenal cast here.
Oh yeah,
Who stole the movie for you?
who stole the movie for
Yeah,
me?
Who did you watch and just like, oh wow, like they're putting their all into this, and like this is one of their top performances. Anyone steal the show for you?
Honestly, Tim Curry.
That's what I was gonna say.
But
Especially-
if you take him out of it, though,
Yeah,
Michael Keaton,
Michael McKean.
Michael McKean,
Mr.
Michael
Green.
Keaton, Michael McKean. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Mr. Green.
I was
This-
watching this last night, and I haven't seen this since I started watching Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
And have you seen that yet?
no, but I watched Breaking Bad, so I
Yeah.
get the point of the show.
Yeah, you should definitely check out Better Call Saul just for Michael McKean.
Okay.
Because he, like, even this past season, he just stole the show for me. But watching this, like, he's so on top of his game.
Yeah.
He's such a strong actor, and I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, I really like him. Like, I never really thought about it too much, but since Better Call Saul and we were watching this, like, I really like everything he's done. And she's like, well, why don't we watch Laverne and Shirley? It's like, oh yeah, I forgot he was on that. And we have the whole series. I'm probably going to end up
Yeah.
starting to watch that soon. But Tim Curry in this is just like,
He's phenomenal.
yeah, like I'd much like if you sat me down and forced me to watch a Tim Curry movie, I'd pick this. Because he knows how to control the room. Like like at the end when he's explaining how it was done,
Yeah.
he's running so hard. Like you can act like, I don't know how they filmed that. If they filmed it all with like different cameras in each room ready for him to come in, but every time you see him like stop, he is just sweating like crazy. He's putting so much into that, and every time that he is playing the dead body and like freaking them out, I lose it. It's phenomenal.
My favorite part on that was when they ran into the kitchen and Mr. Green goes to where he was when he caught the cook, and they open up the door and he just like his eyes roll in the back of his head and he falls out, and then Mr. Green is just like, oh, whatever, just drops him on the floor.
Can you stop it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So which ending of this movie did you get? Because there are 3.
Yeah.
And the way it worked when the movie came out is each theater had a different ending.
Interesting.
So what people would see it, they'd get one ending instead of the other. And then when they put it on DVD, they put out all 3. So which ending did you see?
Well, I rented it off of Amazon.
Yeah.
So I got all 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched it on my DVD last night. I couldn't find my DVD remote. So I had to hit play on random ending. So I got the Miss Scarlet ending.
Miss Scarlet, yeah. I actually like my favorite one was the one that they said what really happened. The one where all of them are guilty except for Mr. Green.
Honestly, that's the only one that really makes sense. If you look at all the clues that are laid out throughout the whole movie, like there are things that are put in there that are just kind of red herrings that don't really line up with the other 2 endings. Like Mrs. Peacock saying this is her favorite recipe.
Yeah.
Makes no sense in the Miss Scarlet ending, because there's no reason for her to know the cook. And then Mr. Body freaking out when they first go into after dinner. He's like, it's all a scam, and he tries to run away.
Yeah.
That makes no sense in the other 2 endings, except for the last ending. Because that's the one where he's not actually Mr. Body. He's just the butler.
Yeah.
Being conned into doing this by... I mean, those are just a few holes in those 2 endings, but everything else kind of works out.
I didn't look into it that deep.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it for
well,
what they
it's
were
just
doing.
it's just something that I picked up on last night watching it. It was like, okay, because I didn't remember Mr. Body freaking out. I think I've watched this on cable too many times, and I'm pretty sure they cut that.
Which one?
When Mr. Body freaks out when they first go into the parlor.
Yeah.
After dinner. Like, he goes in there, he's like, it's all a scam, and then he's being chased through the house and goes to the conservatory and sees the dogs jump up on the window.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that scene. And I'm pretty sure they cut that, because then you just see Wadsworth and him go into the room, and he's like, this is why I've brought you all here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know, because the reason why I like the last ending, like, even though it fits, but I also like the idea, because being a butler trying to get revenge on Mr. Body doesn't make sense with how much he knew and how manipulative he was being. Like, that's what I do. It was like, it's going to end up being him. And then when they did the first ending, and they said, like it came up kind of like a silent movie, and it said, this is, and here's the ending, just one of many possibilities. And then they go into it, and I'm like, oh, great, I love this, because there's going to be, like, I thought it was going to be another hour of them going through how it could have been any single one of them, but I was very happy to see that they only did 3 alternate endings.
Since I watched the random ending, I went back and watched all 3. The multiple ending, the trilogy ending, is like 18 minutes. Like, watching all 3 together is 18 minutes. It's like, okay, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all, especially with how entertaining it is, because they cut out him running it's like running, and they pick it up right where he puts it all together for who it is.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go over with him, like, showing them, like, hello, and, hey, how you doing? And
although it would be funny if they did that just so he could slap Mrs. Peacock every time.
True.
Because I feel like I've seen it that way, but maybe I've just seen, like, the movie that much. I'm just used to, like, Michael McKean slapping her and then Wadsworth slapping her.
Yeah. Which was, and that was good. The one thing I liked how they brought in other people that
Mhm.
were involved. The one thing I thought was interesting though was the one death that didn't fit was the singing telegram girl,
Yeah.
because the cop was there for a decent amount of time to
Mhm.
where, yeah, she would have recognized him eventually, regardless if it was as soon as they opened the door or once she heard him talk a little bit. That's when she realized who he was. Scarlett realizing the cop was the person that she was paying
Yeah.
off to keep her to keep her cat house running.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one term that that
Yeah.
I know that fits what that stuff is. But to keep her cat house running, and then there's another, and the guy who is the stranded driver, he was there for a decent amount of time to where the colonel would recognize him as his driver during
Yeah.
the war, which I didn't pick up that it was like the late 40s.
Oh, really?
I mean, even though the cars were definitely late 40s, like it didn't dawn on me that it was actually set in the 40s
Okay.
until I saw the phone.
Okay.
Funny enough, because
and then
I've seen a
they-
lot of movies where it's set in like the 50s or the 60s or it's set in modern time, but they want to do like a more surreal feel to it. So
Yeah.
they give everybody cars from different eras.
Yeah, I think once you definitely figure out what time period it's set in when they say the name J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, luckily enough, I picked it up before the Hoover phone call because I would have been embarrassed if it was that. But I definitely picked it up after I saw a couple cars. I was like,
yeah,
this is actually set. And they're talking about the war. Which war? Vietnam, World War I, World War II. And then I saw the phone. I was like, okay, this is definitely the late
Yeah.
40s. But there was that. Where was I? I
don't
lost
know.
my place.
I
So
lost it too.
my allergies are screwing with
That's
my
fine.
head. I've got like a head cold, an allergy head cold.
One thing I think this movie does really well, since it's based on the board game, is taking the elements of that board game and incorporating them into the plot. So not
Yeah.
only do you have the characters, because that's easy to do when
Well,
you have a game like Clue,
the
but also the
envelope.
weapons. And
Oh,
the
I'm
envelope.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, the weapons were great,
Yeah.
and I loved how they found stuff that fit like the actual pictures or the
Mhm.
actual little plastic pieces.
Yeah,
I
you've
liked
got
how
the
they
lead
did
pipe,
that.
the revolver, the rope, everything's there.
Mm.
And then you even have, at one point, Wadsworth says, we need to find out who killed him, where they killed him, and what they used.
Yeah,
And it's like, wow, that's like perfect ending.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a perfect way to sum up this movie.
Yeah.
And the game in one.
I remembered where I was going.
Okay. Backtrack.
Backtracking. Yeah, exactly. The Wayne's World thing. So whenever these people were in the house, there was
Mhm.
enough time for everybody to realize who each other were.
Yeah.
And sometimes they did it right away, like with Mrs. White and Yvette. Like as soon as they saw each other, they knew.
Yeah.
The telegram girl,
Mm-hmm.
to me, doesn't fit. I understand that you're not supposed to see who the killer is, so you can't see if they have an instant reaction to recognizing her or not.
Yeah.
But the door opened and she got out like a sentence and was shot dead. And then they open up the door and then Professor Plum is like, oh, she was one of the girls that
Yeah.
she was one of my patients that I had an affair with or whatever. And it just, everybody else kind of made sense for, how long they were there for.
Yeah.
The fact they were actually in a room. She gets killed on the doorstep with a gun 5 seconds after the door opens. That's the one that didn't fit for me.
Almost makes you wonder if he's the one who invited her there.
Yeah. Because that's the only way that he would know.
Yeah.
Because it was raining out, it was dark.
Or if he assumes that somebody from his past is going to come too. If everyone else is dying, he
Yeah.
probably assumes that somebody else is coming that's going to be related to him.
But that's also a lot of assuming, and that's why it doesn't really fit
it
for
is,
me.
But you
But
can also think that Mr. Body invited her there, and he was just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to nitpick it too much because
It's a
For-
movie based off a board game.
for the last ending though, you needed that. Like
Mhm.
you needed somebody else to come in, and the singing telegram makes sense
Yeah.
for that because that last ending is phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
um,
I found one error though in the movie.
okay, What's
Okay,
your
you know how
error?
the falling chandelier thing is kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first chandelier that falls in the middle of the hall area.
Yeah.
Like not in like the dead center middle, but like in the middle in the front because there's like
Yeah.
2 or 3 chandeliers and there's 1, 2, 3. The first one gets shot because Yavette is standing with the gun. She shoots it up in the ceiling and then she shoots the door. But she's standing like right by the front door. So it's that first middle chandelier. It falls right dead center in the middle and the gun gets slid underneath it. Like 10 minutes later, they're dealing with the cop.
Mm-hmm.
He goes into the rooms, he goes into the library, they do some more searching, whatever, and then they come back out of it's when they come out of the lounge or the room across from where they were drinking the whiskey or
Okay.
brandy or whatever. The room directly across.
Where they found the dead murderers.
Where the picture swings open.
Yeah.
Where the painting swings open. They come out of that door.
Okay.
And the chandelier goes from being in the front center of the hall to like up against the wall.
I think they
And
push
the
it out
glass
of the way.
becomes like cleaned. I know, but show it then.
I don't think you need to show
Because
that.
to me, if you don't have somebody talk about cleaning up the hall or show somebody struggling to like clean it, then when you go back and you see it moved,
Yeah.
like to me it just looks like the person who was in charge of keeping sure that everything was, right on set failed at their job. Like
I mean that's
without any without somebody saying it's like without the butler saying let's clean up the hall before anybody else shows up, or say, hey, Mr. Green and Mr. Green and Mrs. White, can you go out and just like clean this up? Or if
Yeah.
like Mrs. White says
I
I
think-
can't take this, or
I don't
like
think
somebody
you need
steps
to-
on glass.
I don't think you need to show that just because it's so fast paced at that point, it'll just slow it down.
I know, but it's stuck out like a red thumb to me.
It didn't to me.
Again, it's a movie based off a board game,
Yeah.
so it's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying.
What is your favorite line from this movie?
Oh God, there are too many. All I know is that I actually laugh. Like, it's rare for me to laugh out loud when I'm watching a movie on my own. I mean, like, 'cause like Mel Brooks movies, I love them.
Yeah.
I like them because they're entertaining. If I'm watching a comedy on my own, like I'll find something humorous, I'll chuckle, but I'm really laughing. Like it's like in my head. I don't really laugh out loud at a comedy unless I'm with other people because
Yeah.
it's other people's
I'm the same
reactions that. I was laughing out loud at a few things that were said,
Okay.
like the repeat of the monkey brains. Even though it's famous in Cantonese cuisine, it's not, it's not common in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he said it twice. So there
Well, yeah,
was
because
that.
the different endings.
Yeah, and then, oh my God, there was just too many for me to remember. I
One-
mean, all I know is that it's just
One
was
that
really
I
good.
always quote with my wife is from the real ending, and it's Mrs. White. Flames on the side of my face.
Yes.
Which
That is definitely a good one.
which is
And that reminded me of her character from Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
It was at that
because
scene.
that was improvised by her. Like she was just that good. I just every time Mr. Green is like, "Oh, I didn't do it," and then at the very end you get the payoff. Told you I didn't do it, and then all the cops come running in.
Yeah.
Like that was such a great payoff, and I'm trying to think what else.
Oh, one thing too is that I love the fact that Mr. Green actually did confess to his homosexuality, because at the very end of the real endings, like, I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife, and then he has like the grin on his
Yeah.
face. I'm like, oh, okay.
The
he's
freeze
definitely
frames,
yeah.
all the freeze frames for the endings are phenomenal. Like that one's great.
Mm-hmm.
I like the one with the chandelier falling behind Colonel Mustard.
That's
Is
the
he-
same one, I think.
No.
Oh, that's the second one.
That's
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
That's the
'cause
first one.
The 1 + 2 + 2 + 1.
Yeah.
So the chandelier falls, and it's just Martin Mull with
Yeah.
looking like he's about to have a heart attack. Like,
Yeah.
That's the ending I got. Like, that's a great freeze frame.
Yeah.
And then when they arrest Mrs. Peacock, it's Wadsworth just like, "Who's for dessert?" And then it just freeze frames and then goes into the credits.
Yeah.
But I love that ending with Michael McKean saying, he even does And if anybody asks who killed Mr. Body, it was Mr. Green in the hallway with a revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Roll credits.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go home and make love to my wife.
Oh yeah, no, I just I haven't really played the game that much.
I've been wanting to play it because we just got the Golden Girls edition.
Yeah.
And I still haven't played it yet. It's been forever since I've played Clue. But I think I saw this before I played the game.
Yeah, no, my thing is that I only played it like twice. And when I did, I don't know, the game just wasn't fun for me. Like, I didn't really get into it that much. The movie was definitely a hell of a lot better than the game.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way. And I was not expecting some of the costumes in this movie either.
They really stick to like the characters that you see on their
Mhm.
cards. Like Professor Plum's got like a purple scheme going to him.
Yeah.
Mrs. White is the most different, I think. But even when she takes off her coat, you get that big white
Yeah,
under.
you get the white
thing.
lining in her jacket
Yeah.
because she's mourning her dead
And Mrs.
husband.
Peacock's got like those feathers going on.
Yep.
Colonel Mustard's like in a brown, and Mr. Green is blue,
Which I found funny.
which I think is like a little hint that he's not actually Mr. Green. Like he's a plant. Like he took over for the guy who was supposed to be Mr. Green.
Yeah.
So
It's like like
Easter
I work for
egg.
the State Department and I'm a homosexual, which if it got out, I would be fired for.
Yeah,
And like it was that like it was seeing the phone in the room
Mhm.
plus him saying that, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely before the 60s.
yeah.
Like this is definitely pre-60s. It's got to be 40s. Them talking about the war.
It might even be 50s.
No,
Like,
I'm
or
gonna,
very
if
early
it's 50s,
50s.
it's got to be like 1951 or 1952.
I'm not quite sure the year.
Oh, here we go. I'll admit, I'm looking up quotes
Okay.
on IMDb because, like I said, there were so many quotes
Yeah.
from that movie, and I'll admit I was tired last night
Yeah.
because I haven't. Its work has been nuts,
Mm-hmm.
but like this is an exchange between Colonel Mustard and Mrs. Peacock. Colonel Mustard, just checking in. Everything all right? Yep. 2 corpses. Everything's fine. And then Mr. Green. So it was you. I was going to expose you. Warnsworth. I know. So I chose to expose myself. Colonel Mustard, please. There are ladies present. Like just the corniness of these lines are just amazing.
Professor Plum, you were once a professor of psychiatry, specializing in helping paranoid and homicidal lunatics suffering from delusions of grandeur. Yes, but now I work for the United Nations. So your work hasn't changed.
Yep. I'm here. Professor Plum. What are you afraid of? A fate worse than death? Mrs. Peacock. No, just death. Isn't that enough? Warnsworth. You see? Like the Mounties, we always get our man. Mr. Green. Mrs. Peacock was a man? Colonel Mustard slaps Mr. Green, who turns to get slapped by Warnsworth.
I love, like, there's a lot of great, like, little exchanges in here. Like the whole, so there's nobody else in the house. No. So there is somebody else in the house. Sorry, I said no meaning yes. No meaning yes? Look, I want a straight answer. Is there somebody else in the house? Isn't there? Yes or no? No. No, there is, or no, there isn't? Yes. Please.
Warnsworth. And to make a long story short, had everybody. Too late.
Yeah. There's one thing I don't understand. One thing? We could go on quoting this movie forever.
We could. There's just.
Yeah.
I seriously think the entire
I think-
script is in the quotes section
Yeah.
of IMDb.
One of the I think was the most clever lines, and then we'll get away from doing the lines, was
Yeah.
Communism was just a red herring. And I was like, I
Yeah.
get that joke.
Yeah,
I
I
did
love
not get
that.
that when I watched it as a kid, but now I
Yeah.
get it. But yeah, it really uses the time period that it's set in to build these stories too. 'Cause
Yeah.
you've got the communism stuff, you've got the post-war era
Mm-hmm.
Washington,
The
and
fusion bomb
fusion
thing.
bombs, and nuclear scientists. So,
Yeah.
like, you make
I loved how they tied everybody to Washington, D.C., though. Like
Mhm.
the whole government thing. That was an excellent way because you knew the script writers were sitting around going, okay, we're making this movie. How are we going to do this? And then somebody goes, well, they all have to be linked somehow. They all have to get there. They can't really know each other, but they might have seen each other, but they shouldn't know who each other are right away. And if they
Yeah.
do, they don't want to say why. So they were like, okay, so where can we do this? It's like, oh, the government. It's a
Yeah.
big city. There's a lot of cogs in it. These people might have seen each other. They may
Yeah.
have not. It's
I mean,
perfect.
You've got the story by John Landis and Jonathan Lynn. And John Landis is like king of the 80s comedy.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Lynn wrote the story, wrote the screenplay, and directed it. So I think this is one of those times where you have a script that is so unique and special. Like there's so many different pieces moving to it
Yeah.
that you need to have the writer behind the camera at all times to make sure everything makes sense.
To make sure that nothing gets screwed up because
Yeah.
I mean with these lines and how many times they went back and forth
Mhm.
between each room, I don't know how you could and I know they do this all the time. And with my brain, it's one of the reasons why I think I would not work out in a film industry.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could have filmed this out of sequence. Because I know a lot of times they don't film movies in order.
I
like
mean, you
they'll
take it-
film you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like they'll film the ending scene. Like the ending scene of the movie will be shot on like day
Yeah.
3 of like a 52-day shoot set
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't know how you could film a movie like this with how many times they went from one room to another to another to another to another
I
out
think
of sequence.
You could probably knock out like the pre-dinner stuff like the first week, and then the parlor stuff the next week, and the dinner table one week, and
Yeah.
then like different bodies. Like I think at a certain point you do it in order. Like
Yeah.
once the chandelier falls, you don't really want to have to reset that. And,
Exactly.
But I think it'd be a lot easier than you think. It is complicated working on a few films that have had dinner scenes and
Yeah.
very intricate setups and lots of characters. It is tricky sometimes, but it's doable.
Okay.
It's just a matter of knowing what needs to be done, and that's where the assistant director comes in and is vital.
Yeah.
That's why, like, every time we do those 48 hours, like, Devin is my AD because he's, like, on it.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what to do, and I really want to do another one this year. But I don't think it's as complicated as you think.
Yeah.
It's just making sure that it's planned out correctly.
Yeah.
Because you've got this, pretty much everyone's in each scene.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff upstairs you can shoot in any order because
That's true.
That's really...
I mean, like, okay, so the stuff in the cellar, the stuff in the attic, stuff like that, yeah. But I mean, like, from the hall to the billiard room, from the hall to the study, from the study to the lounge, from the lounge to the library, back to the study, back to the lounge, to the hall, to the like, oh my god! Like,
Well, that's why I almost
stop.
wonder, like, where it gets complicated is the reveal scenes where
Yeah.
Tim Curry's running back and forth from room to room,
Yeah,
recreating the whole movie.
yeah,
Like, I can see you shooting all the kitchen stuff in one day.
yeah,
It's just like where it gets complicated, and I see where what your point is like, how do you keep that energy level between days?
exactly.
Like, and I guarantee they didn't film this in order, and
Yeah.
that's just a testament to the whole cast, but especially to Tim Curry, because that last scene where he's explaining everything, like, he's giving it his all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he always does, like, between Rocky Horror and Pennywise and even Home Alone 2. Maybe not Charlie's Angels, but he's giving it his all. And like I said, you can see him sweating. Like, I don't know if that was... I know that I highly doubt they filmed that all at once. So that was just like a conscious decision of, we're going to show him sweating. And I don't know if that was real sweat or if it was fake, but either way, damn.
Yeah, no, it's
So,
getting on to Tim Curry, and I know I've said this before, like, his acting ability, like, he was great in this.
yeah.
But even though I've seen all these different movies now with him in it, my favorite Tim Curry movie is still Congo.
I still haven't seen it. So that's 3 movies out of Clue that
Yeah.
I need to go watch.
So we've got Blazing Saddles,
Spinal Tap
Spinal Tap,
and Congo.
and Congo. just because.
Which reminds me of the opening of Boss Baby.
Yes. Great.
Because Boss Baby opens with like the whole thing with Boss Baby is the kid has a super active imagination. So it
Yeah.
opens with him in the Congo.
Mhm.
Like they just zoom in. It's like Congo. It's like Africa, and they're just in the center. Congo,
Mhm.
and it zooms in to him in the jungle fighting a gorilla. That turns out to be his dad.
Fun. It's ridiculous.
It is
But
absolutely ridiculous.
his character in the movie Congo is so squirmy and manipulative, and because he's not the main character. He's
No.
a secondary. He's kind of the comic relief, and he uses all of his abilities. Like, it's so concentrated of what he can do in the scenes that he's in
Mhm.
that I like it so much, because it's like you go between the other actors, and then it's 120% Tim Curry being Tim Curry. Like, it's right there in your face. Like, everything from him like stretching out his words to his facial expressions
Yeah.
to like, him playing with accents. Oh my god.
Looking around on IMDb yesterday, I found this quote from him, and I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a conventional leading man at all, and I have no wish to be." And that's fine. Like
Yeah.
he like Tim Curry stands out. There's only a few actors like, oh yeah, Tim Curry. Like he's different in every role, but it's still Tim Curry. Like I think another one that's like that is Alan Rickman. Like
Yeah.
Alan Rickman brought something different to every role that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still Alan Rickman. Like
Yeah.
between Hans Gruber, Snape, and the guy from Galaxy Quest that's name I'm escaping. Like those are all vastly different roles, but like there's still like a element to it that's like I don't think anyone else could do that except for Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Just like I don't think anyone else could do the roles that Tim Curry has done
Yeah.
the way that he did.
Well, and that's true, because even in I think it's Love Actually
Mhm.
that Alan Rickman is on.
Yeah.
It was right around when the Harry Potter movies were either about to come out or coming out.
Yeah.
So
I
he,
think that came out in 2004.
yeah, so
2003.
it was about when the movies started coming out,
Yeah.
and so you look at him at first, and it's like, oh my god, that's Snape. When it first came out, but he's a boss. He's just
Severus.
a boss. Like he's just the guy that he's a manager of this like office.
Yeah.
And it's just he's able to separate himself
Yeah.
from people that he's established, because he was also in what's that author's name? Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Her. He
Jane
was,
Austen?
Yeah. He was in one or two Jane Austen specials,
Yeah.
either like full out movies or like TV
Yeah.
movies. And he did an amazing job with that.
Yeah.
Like he's just
Yeah,
you get these actors that are able just to like to
not
they
be
can cement
typecast.
themselves in roles that would kill another
Yeah.
actor's career. They can do it.
Yeah.
Go on to the next thing and start another one.
Yeah, because like even basing off of the Love Actually cast, like you look at Liam Neeson's career in the last 8 years,
Yeah.
and it's just been different variations on Taken,
Yeah.
and that sucks because
Mhm.
he's so much more talented, and you get like I would love to see just a straight up comedy with Liam Neeson,
Yeah.
because there's that whole Life's Too Short bit that he did with Ricky Gervais and Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
I've heard of
Where
it.
where he wants to go into comedy,
Mm-hmm.
so they're giving him comedy lessons.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't get improv at all.
But
Um,
but it shows that he
Yeah.
gets timing.
and then his cameo in Ted 2 is phenomenal,
Yeah.
because he's like, I understand that these tricks are meant for just children. If I take these, you promise that you won't report me. He's like, no, they're go ahead. Like it's cereal. And then at the end of the movie, Liam Neeson comes back to the grocery store he's all beat up and bloody, and the box of tricks is like crushed to pieces. He just throws it down on the counter, looks at Ted, and walks out slowly.
Mm.
It's like he's so good at comedy, but all you get is all
Taken.
these. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's variations on Taken. And I'm glad he's stopping that now.
Yeah.
He's done with the action genre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope I get a cameo of Qui-Gon Jinn in whatever
Mhm.
Obi-Wan movie we have coming up, even if it's just the voice.
Yeah.
Like, I want that.
Yeah,
But-
because it's one of those things that you have certain actors who
Mhm.
can sustain being like career killing characters, and it's not a bad thing
Yeah.
at the same time. But
mean,
you
even
you get
like,
actors that get sucked into it. Like
getting back to Clue, even Christopher Lloyd, he's had a varied career from Jim on Taxi
yeah,
to Doc Brown. He's been all over the place too, and he's more of the comedy guy.
yeah.
I think the last thing I saw him in was Going in Style,
Mm-hmm.
that old people rob the bank movie, which wasn't horrible. It's Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman.
Sounds like a younger version of Tower Heist.
Not really younger. How like newer version?
Well, a bunch of old people sticking
Yeah.
up a store.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of younger people sticking up their boss, pretty much. They come together to rob somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, just different context.
yeah.
Younger age,
Which
too.
wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
he's got a small part in that, and he's still got the comedy chops. Because I can't really think of anything really serious that he's done besides Cuckoo's Nest. But like Michael McKean, like we were talking about,
Yeah.
you got Laverne and Shirley, Spinal Tap, Clue, and now he's on the Breaking Bad spinoff,
Yeah.
Better Call Saul. And like it's so serious in that, like he's so serious in that role because he's dealing with, he's allergic to electricity,
Yeah.
so that like plays a really interesting part for his character.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't leave his house, and it's just really well done. And then Martin Mull, all I really know him from is like Hollywood Squares, back when Whoopi did it, and Roseanne.
That's a show I wish to forget.
What, Roseanne?
Yeah.
You better not. It's coming back in like 2 weeks.
Well, it's a good thing I don't have cable. I don't want that garbage coming into my house.
I'll watch it just because of John Goodman. Like if I can get a weekly dose of John Goodman, I'm all for it.
I'll watch Roseanne if it's John Goodman as a single dad. Roseanne, the after years.
The whole thing just takes place in the real, like the after the last season where he's dead. It's just him in the afterlife.
That would be great. John Goodman's character from Roseanne going to heaven and then living the life that he always wanted to.
Like he won the lottery or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's probably like a spin-off book that she wrote in that in her series of writings.
It would basically just be Roseanne. It would basically be Roseanne. I mean, it would be John Goodman from his character as Roseanne, playing his character from the Flintstones, living the lifestyle of Richie Rich,
But in the bunker from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
but in the bunker from 10 Cloverfield Lane. Yeah.
You got anything else you want to bring up?
Other than the fact that I actually really like this movie.
Okay.
Like I said, at first I wasn't entirely sure because I thought it was really odd, but then as soon as they started with the bits, I was like, okay, I like this.
What other board games do you think they could adapt into a movie?
Well, like we said, Monopoly was already done with Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Jumanji was a movie about board games
Based on a book.
based on a book.
Yeah, I think Jumanji is really good at having the game be
The core.
the core of the story.
Yeah.
Which I feel like they probably lost in the sequel.
They already
but-
did Battleship, which I was really surprised that they even made a movie out of Battleship because to me it's
God, it's awful.
Battleship. They could make a game off Mousetrap. I mean, make a movie off Mousetrap. They already made a game off Mousetrap.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
could.
maybe.
It would be a Pixar movie. It would have to be a Pixar movie.
So going back to Boss Baby, there's a
Yeah.
scene where they get trapped in the mousetrap thing. Like,
Yeah.
Mousetrap is in Boss Baby. Like
Mm.
the whole thing, like the marble going,
Yeah.
and they're like they know something bad's about to happen, but like it's so fascinating, I can't look away.
Well, it wouldn't have to be like the whole mousetrap idea. It wouldn't have to be a legit mousetrap. Like it could just be
Yeah.
like instead of making a TV series about based off the book series, a tale of a bunch of like unfortunate events or whatever.
Yeah.
I never read the
A
books.
series of unfortunate
Yeah,
events.
you have a movie where a bunch of things happen that are interlinked, and then at the end of the movie, they show how they shrink it all down and show how everything led to the ending. You call it Mousetrap.
I think they've done that before. It's called Vantage Point. Vantage Point.
Okay, fine. So Vantage Points is our Mousetrap
Because
movie.
you see the same events happen from different angles, and you figure out how it all pieces
Yeah.
together. And at the very end, you see
Okay,
how it all.
so Vantage
fits.
Points Mousetrap. So that one's
Yes.
already been done.
I think with the number of board games that are out there right now,
Yeah.
that are exploding, like
Candyland? How do you do
I
Candyland?
think they are doing a Candyland movie.
Ugh.
I mean, you've got characters in that, so that makes sense.
Kerplunk.
There's no character. How do you do a Kerplunk? I don't know.
How do
But
you
what
do
I'm-
a battleship
what I'm
movie? But they
saying is
did.
there's a lot of those, like kind of the games that we play, like Legendary. and
Yeah, yeah.
Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games like that are gaining speed and finding an audience because
Cards Against Humanity.
Oh God,
Can you imagine a Cards Against Humanity movie?
NC-17.
NC-17.
But I think there's a lot of ideas in some of these games that are coming out, like a lot of like creative things that
Mm-hmm.
I think you can adapt into a script and have that title be there and just be like if you took something like Betrayal, take just like one of those storylines and you could make
Yeah.
a story out of that.
Mm-hmm.
You could even make it a series and do different, like do a whole series of things.
Yeah.
And then have it, each one be the same core characters but different scenarios. I think that'd be interesting.
Kind of like
more
American
TV
Horror Story.
Yeah.
Each season
yeah.
is a different scenario, but it all starts out the same.
Well, yeah, same like faces that
Yeah.
we're used to. In other board game news, did you see they made a sequel to Uno?
Dose?
Dose.
You serious?
Dead serious. I don't know what it is, but it's a thing.
Dose.
Yeah, I might have to go to Walmart and see if I can find it.
Dose. And that'll be Trace.
Yeah.
I don't think I pronounced that right, but whatever.
Trace.
Trace.
Yeah, close enough.
Like tracing paper.
Anything else on
No,
Clue?
no.
Okay.
My allergies are really kicking me in the butt today.
So tune in next week where I watch Blazing Saddles for the first time.
The
You just got-
sheriff's a ding.
You just got the biggest smile on your face when I said that.
The sheriff's a ding. What did he
All right.
say? He said the sheriff's near. It's a horrible joke, but you'll
Yeah.
get it when you see the movie.
All right. So for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
And I'm Ryan.
And I'm going to go home and make love to my wife.